My name is Jason Haynes. I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lived there my entire life. Decided at 44 years old that Phoenix was getting too big for me and Scottsdale was getting too big at almost 7 million people. So I came up here, had an RV, a 32-foot RV to live in, was comfortable, started working, making great money. In December, after working for 4 or 5 months, buying a car, buying some of the essentials that I needed, my boss went to Florida for vacation and came back 2 weeks later, right before Christmas, and said, well, we just bought a house in Florida and we're moving there in 2 weeks and I'm dissolving the company. Basically overnight, I went from making great money and the future looking extremely bright to not getting my last paycheck and basically being broke and living in my car. So after about 3 or 4 weeks of living in my car, trying to make it, food was getting short. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And it was one Saturday morning, I started researching how to get food in Bend. And didn't have a phone at the time because my phone got stolen, so I had a tablet. So I had to walk places to use Wi-Fi. Well, Giving Plate was open on Saturday from 10 to 2. And I decided, let's just walk over there. My car was parked at the time on one of the streets here in Bend and had a tarp over it. And so I was walking everywhere. So I walked over to the Giving Plate and met, I believe, a girl named Kendra, if I'm not mistaken, who was amazing. She greeted me with open arms and walked through the line and got enough groceries for a week's worth of food to eat. And they took care of my needs. They knew I couldn't cook, so I had to be ready to eat kind of stuff. It was the winter, so I could keep things cold, which helped. But that's how I became known with the Giving Plate. And from then on out, I was there every week and just kind of looked forward to going there every week. Someone to talk to, and obviously I got my basic needs at the same time. It was amazing. Well, I had a resume, but I had it in computer format and on paper, but it had my old Arizona address, had my old Arizona telephone number, and at the time I didn't have a phone, so I needed someone to be able to call me back for a job lead. Well, another homeless person actually had set me up with Assurance Wireless. So call and get the government phone. I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. It's better than what I have right now. So about 3 weeks later, I got the phone, and from there it was, okay, now I can get my resume set because I have a phone number. And it took about 3 or 4 different trips of going back and forth to the public library when I could make it down there to actually put my resume together. And just that process of trying to get a resume done when you really don't have the resources and during COVID-19 was almost a 3 to 4 week process, which if I could have gotten it done quicker, I would have had a job probably 3 to 4 weeks earlier. So, but that process was very wearing on me. It really was, because I saw it on paper, I saw my resume, I just couldn't do anything with it. And once I got that done, things started to change very quickly. But just doing the resume was amazing. It was almost impossible, to be honest with you. So this was the sign that started it all. I figured there wasn't a whole lot of resources to get jobs. I did have the phone, but I figured, you know what, I got these 50 copies of my resume, let's try something different. So I was going to stand out on the corner rather than ask for money or anything, which I needed at the time, but I figured this would be the quickest way to money. So I was going to hold up the sign, and I was going to just hand out a resume to anyone that wanted it, that people may know somebody, and I was going to hand out all 50 until they were gone. Renee decided to make a Facebook post with my resume on it, and my life changed from that moment on. It really did. It did a 180. And something I wasn't expecting. I had planned on 5 to 6 months of actually planning my life out to where it became in almost 4 days. And I said, well, now's the time to do this. So I started calling immediately. I called from the top down. The very first company that I talked to, he answered the phone. I sent over a resume, kept going down the list, and I must have probably emailed my resume, if not left messages, to 8 or 10 different companies in a couple hour period. Well, I got a call Sunday morning from the very first guy I called, a construction company here in Bend, and he said, I got your resume, when can you start? I said, you want me to start today? He's like, well, we don't work on Sundays, but how about Monday? And so I said, absolutely, I'll be there. So throughout that same 3-day process, Renee had a friend that had a room for rent, and her name's Amber. She got a beautiful little daughter in 1st grade. And so I talked to her on the same Sunday. Sunday was a very busy day. Talked to her on the same Sunday and asked her about the room for rent, and and we talked for, I don't know, I think through text back and forth for a good hour. And then I said, okay, well, as soon as I get off work, I said, I don't know what time I'm getting off work. It's my first day tomorrow. I'll stop by. We talked for 15 minutes. She handed me a key and said, okay, well, you can move in whenever you want to move in. Slept that night. I think it was that same Tuesday, I got a call from Megan at Furnish Hope, and she said that she had some furniture for me and that she wanted to furnish my room and anything that I might need. She sent me a list of things that she was giving me, asked me if there was anything specific I needed. I said, not really. I've had nothing, so a nice comfortable bed would be okay, and a dresser. And so, okay, well, I'm sending you a list. And sure enough, she sent me a list of dresser, nightstand, brand new bed, bed sheets, pillows, a 6-person patio table for our big deck out front with an umbrella, a mini fridge. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. From there, I had the opportunity to set up my room, which took me a few days because I was just still so overwhelmed. I had to get everything out of my car still and figure out where that was going to go, even though it wasn't a whole lot of stuff. But it was, yeah, I think the first night I put my sheets on the bed and set that up, and the rest could stay where it was, and took another good night's sleep. And it took me a few days to get it all set up and get it kind of situated where I wanted it. And yeah, so it was literally a 4 or 5 day turnaround that I went from literally losing hope to having the greatest amount of hope I could ever imagine, and a new direction in my life. Really, this has been a life-defining moment and life-changing all at the same time, by far. There's so many things that I have running through my head right now of how to give back and how to help, and I need to get a bigger notebook because they're starting to fill up. Giving Plate means everything to me. That's how it all started. That's where I'm volunteering now. Giving Plate has basically redirected my life. I mean, I want to be part of the growing portion of the Giving Plate. I want to be part of bringing everyone together to work in unity, including the community, if they're willing to. But I want to be part of this whole thing of how we can give back to certain people, and that's how it all started, was with the Giving Plate. So when you ask me what it means, it means everything to me.